Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Dyzee over here.
Yo, what's up, y'all? B-Boy Flearock.
And right about now, we're going to be talking about a presentation, something that we've been discussing a lot behind the scenes about why are B-boys so broke? Why is there no money in the culture? How would you explain what we're talking about, Flea?
So basically, from my point of view, we're talking about also not only why B-Boy is so broke, but also about how we can make a change for the better and how we can uplift our culture and our market where b-boys don't have to be broke and b-boys actually get treated better and more on a respectful professional level where we can actually have a career, a real career out of what we do and what we love, where we can afford to have houses and cars and travel and take vacations and
Mhm.
basically upgrade our culture. We're trying to upgrade the culture to where we don't have to be like, oh, I want to break, but I also have to become a lawyer or a doctor. No, I can just
Mhm.
break and I can be a breaker. I could be a b-boy and have an actual great income yearly,
Mhm.
and live
Man,
off of my art form. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, yeah.
that's right. Oh man, preach.
Pow
That's the
pow.
dream. That's the dream right there. Also want to make a huge shout out to Lama Rock MZK for, he's the one editing this live as we're doing this. So I think he's gonna be quiet while we're doing it, but just wanted to shout out, this is like next level stuff. So,
Fact.
okay, we'll go through it and yeah, Flea, you're just putting in your 2 cents in. I'm just leading the structure of this little talk and presentation, and yeah, let's begin. So,
But
why are b-boys so broke? Five major reasons. Five major reasons. There's other reasons, multiple reasons, but we're going to discuss the five major ones why b-boys are stereotyped as being broke. But before we begin, here's a quick disclaimer. Number one, this presentation is meant only to bring awareness and a higher consciousness into the global b-boy and b-girl community and culture. In no way is this presentation meant to make fun or downgrade the b-boys and the culture. We love this culture. We love what we do. We're doing it for life. So we're not hating on our fellow b-boys out there. Just bring in some consciousness. So with that said, here are the top five reasons in general why b-boys are so broke and how we as a community can address this. So let's begin. Firstly, the reason why that I wanted to discuss this is because I see constant hate on b-boys all the time, just making fun of like why b-boys so broke. So these are just like a few memes talking about you're a broke b-boy, everything just I see this all the time, and it's just growing this thing against it. You know what I mean? Like, you'll never make money from dancing. Dior cats with breaking with pockets inside out. No, they were the real b-boys, broke boys. Just people making jokes like this. These are the nicer ones too. There's some way worser ones, but you know what I mean. But you know, I'm just sharing these ones because these are the ones that I could find. I blocked all the haters, so I don't see what they write anymore. You know what I mean? They don't exist.
hmm,
So reason number one, right, is b-boys are just basically a lot of us from the especially the 70s, 80s, and 90s. We're basically starting from the bottom. You know what I mean? So in general, this is a generational thing. Like we can't change where we started from, but we can change where we finish, right? So I don't know. Did you grow up in a super wealthy house, Flea?
no, I did not, unfortunately.
Yeah. How many people from Skill Methods grew up in a nice, fancy, big house? But how many?
Zero.
Same thing. Supernatural zero. None of us came from a great place. You know what I mean? Like, it's just this is what I thought was the normal. But
Right.
things are changing, which is great. So we can move. So like a lot of people know b-boying came from the streets. You know what I mean? That's one of the reasons why. Like we're starting from the bottom, literally. So many of us grew up in poverty. This is where hip hop started from. Like literally looks like a war torn country. You know what I
Right.
mean? And with that, like a lot of us come, like, we're come from government housing, so, some of us come from single parent households. I'm not saying that everyone did. And if you had both parents in your house, that's a thing to be grateful for too. But people who came from, like, the streets, a lot of times, especially if it's a single parent family, whether you grew up with your father or your mother, a lot of times that causes juvenile crime, you know what I mean? So that's why this is the conditions that a lot of B-boys grew up in, you know? So that leads to the number two, right? Without coming from, a place like a rich family, normally we're going to have little financial education. And that's number two. We're not taught about money, right? We're just taught about, like, surviving. That's all we can do is just survive on the streets, right? So
Right.
were you able to be taught a lot about money, Flea?
No, I have not. My parents worked their whole lives. My mom passed away in 2017.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Literally, she got sick while she was still working. My dad is still working. Um, yeah, and they came from Israel, not knowing any English at all. And they didn't really know anything about business. They didn't know anything about making money. They just knew that they had to get a job and survive.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I literally learned all the stuff I learned as far as making money and hustling is in the streets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's it, right? Like we have to learn everything ourselves. Where, like when you come from a family who already knows how to do this, then you have a leg up. You have a head start where they can teach you things that you don't have to spend the time, you know, learning these things by the hard way, by trial and error. You have somebody to say, "Hey, I did this before. Don't do that." And we don't have that, right? And that
Right.
that kind of contributes to why b-boys are broke, because we're starting literally from the bottom. You know what I mean? And nobody to tell us, how to not make the same mistakes. Which this is reason why we're doing this today, right? Because we're trying to help everyone else not make the same mistakes. We're trying to show you what we learned, what we experienced. So, yeah, like I said, right, we have as b-boys, we have little financial education, and now that we have this education, it's on each of us to use the knowledge that's given to us. So this is what I'm talking about, right? Like wealthy kids that they get those life lessons from wealthy parents. Okay, so for example, one of the books that changed my life is Rich Dad Poor Dad. Did you read this book, Flea?
I dabbed in it a little bit, but no, I can't say I actually read the whole book. I have dabbed in it, read a little bit of it a couple
Yeah,
years
yeah.
ago, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, like it just totally changed my mind on the way that they say that wealthy parents, the way that they treat their kids or teach their kids is totally different from the way you know uh, poor parents teach their children. And I was like, my mind was blown. You know what I mean? Like, he said it's totally different, and I was just like, really? Right? And it wasn't until I moved to Korea that I met actually wealthy families, and I asked the parents, "Is this what you teach?" And they were like, "Yes." Right? And I was like, crazy. So I'm just gonna give a quick example,
Hmm.
for our fellow b-boys who may not have heard this, but they say that wealthy parents. Okay, what do we normally get taught? We're taught you go to school, you get a good education, you get a job, and then you save money and you retire, right? That's what we're normally taught. That's what we all think, right? But wealthy parents don't teach it like that. They teach it totally opposite. They say there's four stages of income that you must do in your life. And when I actually asked people, they said, yes, that's what you're supposed to do. The first stage is you're supposed to be an employee just to understand what it's like to be an employee, and as a what's called it, as how a business works. And then you raise your skill and you become what you call self-employed, right? So that's like a b-boy. We're all self-employed, right? Most of us, we're working for ourselves. We build our skills. But there's supposed to be a next step where you're supposed to transition into a business owner, where now you don't use your own work. You basically can duplicate whatever it is that you're doing, and you don't have to do it anymore. So that's starting like a show company, a school, or whatever. And then once you make money, it's a full circle. You take your money and you invest back into the next b-boy that's going to become a business owner. Like this is like what they teach, you're supposed to do in your life. And I was like, what? So this is like just like little education that I realized that we don't have, that no one comes to teach us, right? And that takes me to the next the number three is the b-boy dreams versus b-boy reality. So I want to ask you, Flea, like what was your, as like when you're coming up as a young b-boy, what was your dream?
Well, when I came up in the 90s, obviously there wasn't as much opportunity as there is
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yeah.
So, my dream when I first started breaking was obviously to meet the guys that inspired me.
Mm-hmm.
I always
Yeah.
wanted to meet those guys. Um, and was to be just the best b-boy in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my dreams, was to become a great b-boy, like as far as mastering the art form and just becoming like my inspirations.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always wanted to be in movies. I've always been like a little actor, and I was trying to, I was always was a dream to be in movies acting.
Mm-hmm.
Music, dancing, and acting was always like a dream for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as breaking, there really wasn't much. I didn't even think I could make money breaking when I first started breaking. The
Yeah.
first time I actually made money breaking was street shows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever made money breaking. And I think I was 13 years old. And I was like, wait, I could actually make money breaking, but it was in the streets. And that was fine with me at the time. I was like, damn, I could actually just make money breaking in the streets.
Yeah.
Um, but when you're young like that, you're not thinking how like rich dad, poor dad. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
not thinking like those people because we weren't taught those things.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't even in our brain to like that we can actually become business owners and
Mm-hmm.
and be wealthy and create wealth you know
Mm-hmm.
so no, yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't something that I thought about at all. For me it was more about you know the love of the breaking.
Yeah.
Later on as I got older and stuff started to change and we started to see more opportunities like events and jams and prize money. And even back
Mm-hmm.
then there wasn't much compared to now. So I went through so many errors, like I went through so many different errors. And now it's at like a peak where you can get sponsored by a company. You
Mm-hmm.
can get, you can win $20,000 in a one-on-one. You can it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how much it's changed from my era to now.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is all good. um but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny when I was thinking like,
my dream was definitely just to break every day. It was just to be one of the best breakers in the world.
yeah,
And
yeah.
obviously as I got older and I started seeing breaking in movies, and I was like, man, I think
And
I
you're
need
in
to,
movies too.
right. I was like, I need to move to LA. I need to get in these movies. I think, this is my ticket. This breaking thing is
Mm-hmm.
my ticket to get out of the hood, get out that trap, get out that street life. And it definitely
Yeah.
was, because in Miami, it was either breaking or you know,
Or the
or that
gang,
other
the streets.
stuff. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
thank God I found it, because I don't even know where I would be right now if I didn't have it. I was able to buy my own home. I've
Mm-hmm.
had every car that I wanted. I bought every shoe I've ever wanted. I bought jewelry, electronics, the list goes on. And I've always felt like, wow, breaking really, really did that for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but still,
But
it ain't enough.
it wasn't through battling though, right? It wasn't battling that made you, but that
Right.
was
No, No,
That's
battling.
crazy.
No, it wasn't through battling or the jams.
Mm.
It was more through booking jobs in Hollywood and street performing.
And that's a crazy thing, because if you ask a lot of people now, their dream is only to battle, right? And that's the thing. The b-boy dream now is, I'm gonna just be a full-time b-boy, try to get sponsored, but I'm just gonna win battles and jams, become super famous, and get sponsored and stuff like that. And that's the b-boy dream today,
Right.
and that's right. Where there's also a b-boy reality, right? Like if you don't start thinking about business, if you're only thinking about your skills, then it's gonna be a problem, right? And so if I continue, so like I said, the b-boy dream, what people believe these days, these kids, is that if I just work on my skills, this is what we kind of did back in the day too. If I work on my skills, I'm gonna earn a rep, I'm gonna start winning battles, right? I'm gonna start getting invited to judge. And I remember when I first started judging competitions, like the first time was in 2000. I got invited somewhere and they said, "Hey, can you judge the battle?" And I was like, "Sure." And they're like, "We're gonna pay you $300." And I was like, "What? You're gonna pay me money to judge the battle?" Like that was unheard of for me. You know what I mean? Like I didn't, you're gonna
Yeah.
pay me $300 to sit here. And to me back then, $300 was a lot of money. You know what I
Right.
mean? That was like, you know.
Right.
So we
Right.
think, okay, so we're getting invited to judge, and then we think we believe we're gonna live off traveling, and we think that's a clear-cut path. That's what a lot of b-boys think these days. That's all I gotta do, and this is what
But
And so,
I don't want to
go
cut
ahead.
you off, but this right here, if you see
Hmm.
build skills, earn your rep, win battles, get invited to
Yeah,
judge and travel.
yeah,
Um, because of what we were talking about earlier, as far
yeah,
as we're not taught at a young age, and a lot of people are not taught about
yeah,
business
yeah.
and about all these things we just talked about.
Hmm.
This is like enough for them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
then as
exactly.
they get older, they realize how much time they wasted on
Hmm.
traveling and judging and going to battles, and now they're still left with
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
So
yeah, that's right.
that goes back to why b-boys are broke.
Yeah. And even though, right, like even like that's funny, because people are trying to travel, and this is what they want to do. And exactly what you said. And the worst thing about this is that this is not even all the reality of how things actually work, because now it's gotten to a point where it's not even about that anymore. The reality is that you need to make connections. You know what I mean? If you're going to travel, you got to play the b-boy politics with organizers. If you're going to start traveling, you have to start. Yes, it's all politics. And
Right.
then as you start making a name, start traveling, you're gonna get replaced by the younger, hungry, upcoming b-boys who are willing to judge for like free, or judge for like a
Less.
fraction of the price. Yeah, judge for
Right.
less. You know what I mean? So then you start to endure the b-boy hustle, or you have to get a part-time job, right? And then all you can do is really dream to get sponsored by an energy drink. And so this is the actual reality, right? Like, so if you're not thinking about business, and you're thinking that you're just going to train hard and you're going to like make it like this, the reality is that it takes way more than that. Like, and it's the truth.
And there's a very small percentage of b-boys that
Hmm.
will actually even get to do the things we just said.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is the truth, right? Like the power of the culture, it actually like really lies with the organizers. Like the organizers, they're the ones who get to choose the judges. They're the ones choosing. So it's not the community choosing the judges, it's the organizers choosing the judges, right? And it's not like like majority of the organizers are like, okay, yo, let's go through the list of everybody who deserves to be here. They don't think like that, right? Like they're not thinking like that. They're not, because the best organizers, the top and best organizers, aren't actually always b-boys, right? So, and this is not in a way to diss them. This is the reason why they're so good at what they do, because they don't think like how a b-boy would. As a b-boy, we think like, okay, who are the best of the best, the most respected judges that we can get? And so if we're gonna get like the top judge, we're gonna pay them for what they're worth. That's what we would expect. We think of it from the lens of a b-boy, where a non b-boy would just think of it as the bottom line. Are they my friends? Can I work with them really easy? You know what I mean? Are they willing? Like, is it gonna fit my budget? And that's it. You know what I mean? That's the way they think. So that's why I wouldn't there's organizers and there's promoters, right? The organizers are community organizers, and they usually end up losing money, where the promoters, right, they're usually not b-boys, and they look at it as a way to, as a business opportunity. And I'm not even hating on it. I'm just saying this is with the truth. So I'll give you an example, right, of the kind of money that's in breaking, as an estimate. Okay, this is an estimate. This is not official numbers, right? But if you look at it, right, like for example, at the heyday of the biggest competitions, for example, like Battle of the Year, they were charging around, on average around 50 euros. It's a 2-day event, right? And there was, the one that I went to was 15,000 people, right? 15,000 people. If each one of them, I'm not saying they all did, but if they paid 50 euros a ticket, I'm not saying they all did, right? Then that would be like 750,000 euros. You know what I mean? So there's actually, the point is that there is money in break-in. You know what I mean? Now, if you also look at like qualifiers, right? If there's 20 qualifiers and each one of them pay a license of 1,000 euros, or even if it's 500 euros, that's still 20,000 euros, if they're paying 1,000 each, right? If you have 20 qualifiers. So if you look, I'm just letting people understand that business.
What exactly do you mean by qualifiers?
Now, so for example, right, R16, we had 32 qualifiers around the world, right? R16, when I was organizing R16, everybody paid.
Okay, so qualifiers are like the other events to get to this event.
Exactly, and they pay a license, right, to organize the event. So you're technically making money off licensing your events out in order to come, and so that's extra money into your pockets. And also those events, they pay for the winners to fly to your country too. So you're saving money on inviting your guests as well. You know what I mean? So the point is there is actually money in these mega events, which I'm not saying these events should not exist. We want them in our scene because we want to see b-boys getting together. We want to see the best of the best b-boys battle. But I'm just saying that there's money in breaking, just not technically for the b-boys themselves. You know what I mean? So, and this is I'm not even talking about sponsors, actually. This is just off tickets, off licenses for the event alone. That's why they can exist whether or not they have a sponsor, So for example, let's talk about sponsored b-boy events, okay? Red Bull BC1 itself has a 1.5 million euro budget. I know because we organized the 10th year anniversary. And so I know this is just for the finals, 1.5 million euros, so there's money in breaking. It is going through the scene. It is moving, but not necessarily to the b-boys. It might go to the marketers, the stage production. It might go to all these different things, just not so much of the b-boys, except every b-boy that does go to the BC1 World Finals, they do get actually I think it's about $1,000 just to compete, and that's win or lose. They at least get something, So yeah, and all this money comes from Red Bull's marketing budget. So this brings me to number 4, right? There is a lack of sponsors in the breaking scene. This is the reason why b-boys are so broke. There's literally a lack of sponsors, right? Not like every other thing that's got tons of sponsors. Breaking itself has very few, and we're going to get into why. Okay, why sports brands do not sponsor the b-boy culture. This is why. Okay, so first we have to say which sponsors do we have. The only sponsors that we actually technically do have is Red Bull and Monster. Okay, these 2 energy drinks. They're putting money actually into breaking because they're actually sponsoring, organizing events. And do they actually make their money off b-boys buying these energy drinks? Right? Like, do you buy Red Bull? Do you buy Monster? Do you buy Red Bull? Do you buy Monster?
Nope.
Right? Well, a lot of us don't. So they're not making these hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars back by the b-boy scene. You know what I mean? Yet they're able to dump this kind of money in. Why? Because they see the value of how many people we're reaching out there. You know what I mean? So this is kind of weird. This is kind of strange, right? Why not sports brands? We actually do spend our money, a lot of money, on Adidas, Nike, Puma. Why can Red Bull give us, and Red Bull and Monster, why can they sponsor money into our scene when we don't even buy Red Bull and Monster, but the ones that we do spend a lot of money on, Adidas, Nike, and Puma, why do they never give back? Right? When was the last Adidas World B-Boy Championships? Right? Or where is the Nike B-Boy All-Stars? Or where's the Puma, the Puma breaking tour? Right? Where is it? Why won't they do that? Right? So let's get into that reason why. Number one, we already wear and we're already loyal to their brands. That's the first reason. Because we always rock their stuff, why would they change, right? Number two, they probably don't know how much money they make off us, right? I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, right? Like, I'm trying to be nice, right? So I think they do. I think they do know how much. But the thing is, we don't know how much they do. Oh, until recently. Okay, so let's talk about that. How much money do these big brands make off the b-boy culture, right? Actually, I was having a conversation recently with my boy Hong Ten, and we're talking about it, and I was like, yeah, they never give back. And he goes, oh, they just make nothing from us. That's what he was saying. They make zero. And I was like, they make nothing? And then I had to like really research this and go into this and figure out how much do they make off our culture. Okay, so we're going to talk about this. Okay, how much does Adidas, Nike, Puma, and these major breaking brands make? Okay. First thing is, if we're going to figure this out, we have to talk about how many participants, how many b-boys, b-girls, or people that are like related to our scene are there in the world, right? How much would you have said? Would you have thought? Before I would thought only about, maybe 10,000, 20,000. That's what I thought, right?
Yeah, right.
Right? I didn't think a lot, right? But there was actually a commission report by the Olympics. Okay. So the reason why breaking is going to the Olympics is because the Olympics sent out these researchers to do, to take a report and find out exactly how many like b-boys and b-girls, participants, people who have an affinity to breaking because they've practiced it, around the world. And they came back with a commission report, and they estimated that there's 1 million participants in the world, according to the 2019 Olympic Program Commission report. As you can see, it's highlighted over here. Okay. And so this is on all the reports. And this is the reason why, even though breaking is not ready to go to the Olympics, they just rushed it through. They're like, yo, there's 1 million participants. This is the reason why they actually are giving us acceptance to get in there. You know what I mean? Because we're not an official sport. We don't have never had official rules. We never had we didn't fit any of the actual guidelines to get into it. But we do have a lot of people that break worldwide, you know what I mean, that are part of us, or one time they were. Okay, so let's take those million b-boys and b-girls worldwide. The next question you have to ask is, how much do we spend on average? Okay, on the average, how much do we spend? Now, a lot of people might be saying, I don't know, I think maybe nothing or whatever, but think about it. How much would you say you have spent on something to break in, like shoes, jackets, spin gear, anything that you were using for breaking, Flea? How much would you say you have spent in your entire career?
I don't even want to tell you. It's a lot. It's a lot. Especially me, I'm a Nike dude. So like, and shoes for me is everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Puma in my first days, Puma was my favorite breaking shoe. Pumas and Adidas, Gazelle and Sambas.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved on to more of a running type of sneaker and started rocking all the running Nike sneakers and all that. So yeah, I've spent tons of money on Nike, Adidas, and Puma just to break in and look fresh.
Yeah. So
Tons.
right? I know, like, to me, honestly, like, I've always been a little bit cheap, you know what I mean? Like, but I've spent the money because, you need shoes to break for sure. You need clothes to break in, you need clothes to spin in, and they don't always last long. So I would say I got a lot of free stuff too, free shirts, free clothes and stuff. So I would put it at, I'd probably in my career spend about, not a lot, but at least $5,000 in my career, 20 years. I've
Right.
been breaking for 25 years. That's what I would say.
So I probably spent like 3 times that.
Yeah, right, for sure. So I actually did my own little poll just to see what everyone else was thinking, what they said. And the highest was 2,000 to 5,000, saying they've gone through a lot of breaking career. That's where I'm at, 2,000 to 5,000. But the second highest one is actually over 10,000 for sure. Basically saying almost everything they ever buy is meant for breaking. That's where you're at, right? You're there.
Basically.
And then the next one is about 500, bought around 3 to 5 pairs, a few jackets and pants. That's about it. Those are people who kind of probably got into breaking for a little bit and tried it, but never kept breaking, but it spent at least 500. And then the next one is about $1,000. They only spent on the breaking necessities. Then there's another one who said 5,000 to 10,000. They're somewhat of a collector, right? So if you just take the highest one, that's 2,000 to 5,000. Let's take the lowest number, $2,000. Okay. And there's people who spent a lot of money. So the average might be like, let's just say the average is 2,000 from everybody.
And this is, you're speaking on your whole breaking career, not yearly.
Yeah. Just on our breaking career so far, not yearly, right? And so let's just say, okay, out of all those people, the million people, how many would you say bought something to break in, right? Out of a million people that break, right? Or did they just break in whatever they had? Or did they say, hey, okay, I'm breaking, so I need to buy a pair of shoes, or I need to buy something to break in? How many would you say out of a million people bought something?
I would say all of them.
Yeah, that would make sense, right?
Because ain't nobody breaking naked.
No one's breaking naked.
No
No
one's
one's
breaking
breaking
naked.
boots.
And the minute you fall in love with breaking, like, okay, you need your it's like Superman and his costume. It's like Spider-Man and his fit. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, even
Exactly.
Spider-Man had to make his own fit and be like, yeah, this ain't popping. I need a better one. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
I feel like, honestly, when you're a b-boy or a b-girl or even a hip hopper, a DJ, a graffiti artist,
Mhm.
our like our powers come from our outfit.
Mhm.
It comes from the clothes. It comes from the hat. It comes from the beanie. It comes from the shoe. It's like, it makes it like, come on, bro. Like when you got your first Cortez, like you were like, oh snap,
Yep.
I'm
That's
about to
right.
kill it now. I feel powerful. You know what I mean? Like I feel
Yeah.
it gives you that, that Superman outfit. You know what I mean? So it's like,
That's
I
right.
would say everybody, um,
Everybody.
everybody.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
let's just say, I would say at least 90%, because maybe there are people in really poor countries who couldn't afford it at all. So let's
Right.
just say there might be some people who didn't. But even the videos that you see of b-boys in Africa that are breaking in the dirt, if they're not breaking barefoot, you see them wearing like Pumas and Adidas, like they're still wearing the shoes, like they're
Oh,
wearing the clothes.
they'll find a way.
They
They'll
find a
find a
way.
way.
We always find a way because we know what we need, right? But let's just
Right.
say we make the worst estimate possible, and we say instead of 90%, let's say only half of them, 50% of them bought something. And if we take those 50% and we find the average is $2,000 based on the poll. So 50 participants, 500,000 people times 2,000, on average, it's $1 billion industry off break-in. That means $1 billion went poof from our culture, from our community, poof into the hands of these huge corporations, these that don't acknowledge us, that don't acknowledge us, don't give back to our culture. Totally gone. Don't sponsor anybody, besides giving a few free clothes and free stuff, right? It's crazy. $1 billion industry. There is money that's going out of our culture into something that doesn't give back, So this
Crazy.
brings us to reason number 5, is basically we need to build our own b-boy industry, our own breaking industry, right? We have to.
Read that again.
Okay. We need to build our own B-boy, B-girl industry. You know, if we don't want to be broke, we have to build it ourselves. You know, we have to do it ourselves because man, we've been in this so long. I've been in this, I mean, I know you've been in it longer than me. I know I started 94. Yo, man, it's always been a dream to be sponsored by Puma, Adidas and stuff. And besides a couple of free pairs, I thought that one day they're going to change. They're going to say, okay, you know what? You've been winning how many battles wearing our shoes? You've been, you know, like you got all your students and everybody to rock this, you know, you have this influence. Let's talk about something, but nothing, silence. We're met with silence. Have they ever approached you and offered you an endorsement deal or anything?
Nope.
That's crazy.
Nathan,
It's crazy.
We're like the neglected children.
That's what I feel like. We're neglected. You know, it's horrible, you know?
But that it also goes back to them knowing that we're just those kids from the hood that they don't understand this business shit, so we can take advantage of them, basically.
Yeah, man. So, like I said, we need to build our own B-boy industry. You know, who and what we support, that's got to change, you know? So let's talk about it, right? Like I'm going to talk about the B-boy ecosystem. I'm using your brand First Class as an example, right? Like if people are supporting First Class and your business is growing, are you just pocketing the money? What do you do with the money, right? You are going to put it back into the scene, right? So even right now, you're not making millions right now off First Class.
No.
Are you making hundreds of thousands of dollars?
No.
Right? But yet you are still putting together a First Class dream team. You're still doing it, right? That's crazy, right?
With my own money.
With your own money.
That I make in the streets.
Okay. And so I'm just trying to explain to people, right? Like to the B-boys and B-girls out there. This is what happens when you support a B-boy or B-girl breaking brand, okay? When you do that, you tag a photo or video of somebody of a breaking brand while you're rocking their thing or you're winning a battle. What happens, right? The brand will support you, right? Number one, they take notice of you, right? So all these people that you're sponsoring, right? Like, how did you end up finding them or choosing to sponsor these B-boys and B-girls? Because they probably tagged you first, you saw them rocking it, and then you found them, right? Like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah, basically. Not all of them, because like we go back to that same issue. They probably can't afford it. And you know, some of them, yes, some of them already rock my brand and they'll rock it in jams like Nord Diamond. I remember giving him and Tony Rock and Costo a couple hats. Like I saw him at IBE and I just blessed them with some hats. But since then, Nord, everywhere I see him, every practice, every jam, he's rocking the hat. And it really made me think, like, damn, it sparked something in my brain. Like, I should actually make a team. I should make my own team, sponsor them, send them clothes, try to send them a little bit of money, you know, and, you know, to help support them and support my brand, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. And that's what I'm saying. It's like when you rock a breaking brand, you know, and you tag them and you're wearing their hat or shirt or jacket or shoe, they're gonna like start following you and saying, oh, yo, this person's, you know, like we actually look at the people that are, you know, doing it for us. But does Puma, Nike, or Adidas ever do that for us? When was the last time they reached out or they commented and said, hey, awesome what you're doing? You know, like they don't. It's incredible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for B-boys and B-girls coming up, you know what I mean? Like as our breaking brands are getting bigger, that's the one thing that breaking brands would do is they would start following you, supporting you, you know, like they would try to support you, especially if as your career is going up. You know what I mean? It's something that these corporate brands don't do. So I'm going to give you an example, right? The money that, when I'm saying the money that goes into into breaking, from breaking brands, they actually give back. So I want to use Biggest and Baddest as an example, right? Biggest and Baddest was pretty much the first breaking brand, actually, like or big one, right? And at one point, they were $1 million company. Not saying that they were breaking in millions of dollars, but they were estimated to be $1 million company. And what were they doing? They were sponsoring B-Boys. So they were paying flights for Squadron to go out. They organized prestigious events like Outbreak, right? And from what I know, they were paying the judges and artists what they were worth. They weren't just like giving like cheap money. They were they were paying the artists and judges like properly. And they also had a free spot for the B-Boys and B-Girls to practice. You know what I mean? Like, this is what a breaking brand would be doing, So let's talk about what's going to happen in the future, right? When will these corporate brands give back to the culture and that made them famous? And when I say that made them famous, no, if you look at, the pre-80s explosion of breaking, what were people wearing? What were the B-Boys wearing? They were wearing like pro kids, like they were wearing, like Chucks. They weren't wearing Puma, Adidas, and Nike. They weren't wearing that stuff at that time. They were, if you ask them themselves, they were too expensive. They were wearing like other things. But when breaking came out and exploded, that's when they came and Puma sponsored Beat Street. They're sponsored Run DMC. And so the B-Boys were the ones that made turned these brands into cultural icons. You know what I mean? But where are they now, right? Like, where are they now? We made them famous, when hip hop exploded through breaking all around the world. We made them famous, and where are they now, right? When will they give back? So they are going to actually come back, right? These corporations, they're going to be back to capitalize off the hype, and it's already starting. They're coming back, and now they're giving a couple of free pairs here and there, to the B-Boys they think that are gonna, they're gonna exploit, and they're gonna capitalize off the hype because of the Olympics, But if you look at history, it's gonna repeat itself. They're gonna abandon breaking once the hype passes, and this is what they did in the 80s, and this is what they did in the mid 2000s in Korea. Remember when breaking was huge in Korea? Remember that, Flea?
Yeah.
Right? It was all over TV.
There was actually a Nike Jam, right?
Yep.
Like
They
Nike
actually
sponsored.
exactly. They did sponsor jams. They did do stuff like, while breaking is hype.
They gave Rivers Crew like a bunch of clothes, right?
Yeah, they gave clothes, they sponsored people, but once the hype passes, they're not invested to keep breaking alive. You know what I mean? That's not their, not like a breaking brand. A breaking brand would actually be like, if breaking dies, they know that their brand is going to die too. Because, and this is the same thing with skating. You know what I mean? So the same thing's going to happen, right? They're going to like be around and then they're going to disappear. Happen in 80s, happen in Korea, happened twice. Okay. And this is where, I want to explain like, we can actually make a change because the skate culture, they actually did make a change. This happened in skateboarding, right? There was a time where people were wearing like Adidas, and Puma for skateboarding, right? And then, like other brands came out like Vans and Airwalk, and so skaters started to support these brands, and when these big corporate brands saw that where the money was going to these other brands that are like starting to explode, that's when they started and opened up skateboard divisions for their companies. Okay, basically skaters forced these sports brands to give back. Okay, so you actually have these Adidas competitions. The biggest skate competition is called a street league. It's not even just a competition; it's an actual league. It's huge. It's like a world tour. Nike SB stands for skateboard. They're the ones who are, sponsoring this whole thing. This is the reason why if you look at the top skaters, their net worth is in the millions. Oh man, I should have put the thing up here. Like they're rich. These young kids are driving the craziest cars and everything like that, just from skating. So I'm just gonna give an example, right? Like for my own shoe brand, right? The first Bboy brand, we're not making a lot, but with the little support that we have, we're able to offer like little things like extra prize money. So for local battles, regional battles, national battles, international battles, world championships, and the Olympics. We're willing to even give out money, right? We can do this for the culture, right? So if someone wins a local battle, first place, they get $50 cash or $100 gift cards. Or if they win a regional battle, $100 cash, $200 gift card. National battle, $100 cash plus $200 gift card. International battle, $200 cash plus $200 gift card. World championships is like a $500 cash plus $1,000 gift card. And Olympics, $2,500 cash plus $2,000 gift card, or a $30,000 two-year endorsement deal. We're willing to do that with what we already have, right? So just the small amount of support that you're supporting any break-in brand, this is what break-in brands would be able to do back for the culture. And that's how we build this culture, right? So yeah, man, that's pretty much it. You know, the top 5 reasons why B-Boys are so broke. I don't know if you want to add anything to the things that we're talking about, Flea.
Yeah, so I would like to emphasize on, if you could go back to your
Sure.
screen, go
Mm-hmm.
down, yeah, back to your shoes. So basically, in other words, to emphasize on what Dyzee was saying is that, because I've been talking about this for a long time. I always say it on my story, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, stories are only 24 hours long on your IG, so I don't know if people actually see it or understand it. And you know, I'm gonna just try to explain it in the most easiest way possible. So right now in our culture, we have Dyzee Threads, we have First Class Clothing, we have Menno Leisure, we have
Mm-hmm.
Cipher Code, we have The Legits, we have Funk and Furious, we have
Catch Rec.
Catch Rec. Gravity just started his brand, Catch Rec. Um, Biggest and Baddest is still around, right?
Mm-hmm. I believe
I
so.
think Spen is running it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I'm just naming off the top of my head. That's 8, right? I'm sure there's some more, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what we're trying to emphasize and let all you B-boys and B-girls and hip hoppers, graffiti DJs, all y'all, we're trying to wake you guys up to this. If you would spend, let's say, $20 a year on each of those brands, everybody in the culture, our brands will go up in value. We will have more income to give back to the culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we don't have to depend on any other big corporate companies coming in and depend on them to make our futures, right? So now let's say we do get these incomes and do start getting these sales in Dyzee Threads and First Class and Cipher Code and Menno Leisure. Now we have the income to give back to the culture. Now I can go, oh well, my team that I started, I can actually give them X amount of dollars a month, right? I can have more variety in my brand. I can actually throw my own event as big as Red Bull,
Mm-hmm.
and give more opportunities to B-boys, right? And
Mm-hmm.
B-girls and DJs and MCs and hosts and vendors. Basically, what we're trying to say, instead of you guys buying these other brands like Adidas and Pumas and Nike
That don't give
uh,
back to the culture.
that don't give back to us and don't give back to the culture and put it into these brands that are in your culture, then your culture market, it goes up.
Mm-hmm.
Everything goes up. It inflates. We all inflate together. So you got to get out of your mind that, oh, I don't want to buy Dyzee Threads because why would I give Dyzee money? You got to but you're going and buying Nike. You're going and buying this. You're going and buy that. You know what I mean? Like, why would you go buy a brand that some rich guy or rich person don't even care about you? They don't care about your
Yeah.
culture. They don't give back to you. They don't even care about breaking. They don't even care about hip hop. You know what I mean? But you're rocking it on your back. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? You're giving them money. but it's okay to give them money, but it's not okay to give Dyzee money. It's not okay to give Menno money. It's not okay to give these guys money for their brand that they actually put their own money into making, took their time for B-Boys. Like, it's made by B-Boys, made by the culture, for the culture. But
Mhm.
we're not getting that response back from our culture. We're putting in the work to change this, but we're not really getting what we need from you guys, you know? So basically, for instance, for example, on my website, I probably have maybe 15,000 visitors on my website, right? I don't know how much you have. I don't know how much anybody has. I just know what I had, right?
Mhm.
And my brand has been open, I think, since 2016. I started my website. So from 2016 to now, I've had like 15,000 visitors, because it tells me, you know, the data.
Mhm.
And out of those 15,000 visitors, there's not nowhere near of sales, like orders, that reached that. If there was, my company would be $1 million company, and I would have a lot more leverage to put back into the community, put back
Mhm.
into my brand, put back into my team, even throw jams, like I said. And now that, you know, all of the brands, we're all coming together now, like me and Dyzee and Storm's brand, everybody's coming together now. We actually can use you guys. We can use your help now. Now we're basically saying, look, now that you see the breakdown of this, we're hoping that it wakes you guys up to go, damn, these guys, they're right. If we actually put back into the brands, then our culture inflates, and we have more opportunity now, because we, like, that those billions of dollars that we put into those companies would now
Billion
be,
dollars.
yeah,
Crazy.
now it won't go poof. It will be right here for us, for all
Yeah.
of us to
Mhm.
capitalize off of, right?
Mhm.
So just to emphasize on this whole thing we
Mhm.
just did is basically know where your money is going, know who you're buying into, and know that this, for me, I can only speak for myself.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna take the money and just go spend it. That
Mhm.
I'm not that's not my mentality, because
Yeah.
like we said, we're older now. We learned, okay, we need to put back, we need to invest, we need to market, we need to change the
Mhm.
way we think as b-boys and b-girls and a hip-hop culture. We can't be thinking street all the time. We need
Yeah.
to change that mentality so we can have a rich culture. We can be like the NBA. You know,
Mhm.
Vicious Vic can be like a LeBron. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
These guys could be like these athletes and getting $1 million contracts if they put back into the culture and not into other things. So basically,
Right.
what we're trying to say is that we can be like the NBA. We can be like these people, but we got to know what we're doing. And we got to understand that, dude,
Mhm.
you're not making me rich when you buy my stuff. You're
Yeah.
making you're making your culture rich. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because I'm for the culture. My clothing, all the money I put into my clothing, into my brands, into my team, it goes to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't benefit off anything. It's more for the love and more for like the dream that I have, that we have, to actually, you know, progress and get out of this loophole that we're in, that, like what Dyzee was saying, like,
Mhm.
these brands are gonna come in when it's hype, and then they're gonna leave us to shit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They're gonna keep coming in when it's hype and leave us, but we wouldn't do that. We are for the culture. We're from the culture, and we really love this. We really
Mhm.
love y'all. We love the b-boys. We love everybody, you know, and this is from the heart. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
speaking straight from my heart, and I know everybody feels the same way, that's actually doing a brand, you know, and putting their money and time into this. It's not to get rich, it's to change this cycle that we've been in for so long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, just to emphasize on what we're trying to do here is to really like wake you guys up to go, wow, I get it now. I get it. If I do invest my money into, instead of going to buy Adidas, I'm gonna go buy Dyzee threads. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna buy his shoes. You know what I'm saying? Flearock got a shoe coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And Dyzee is eventually gonna be making all of the brand shoes, hopefully, for all
Yeah.
of us. And you know, and the more income he gets is the more he can change the mold as well. You see, he has one mold there as a
Yeah.
shoe, you know. We eventually want to have all the molds,
All
you
the
know.
molds.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
want to have all the molds. We want to have all the factories. We want to have great quality like Gucci and all that. But we can't do that unless
Mm-hmm.
you guys change your mentality. You know what I mean? And start investing your money into the brands, the breaking brands that are here now, that are putting their money and time and heart behind this stuff. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so this is strictly for all our hip hoppers, all our people in our culture that gonna see this. Next
Mm-hmm.
time you decide that you want to go shopping, because we all get those urges to go,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like buying something today. Go to go to one of the break-in brands
Yeah.
website and purchase something instead of going to these malls that we don't own yet. We don't own no malls. We don't own no stores yet. We don't own none of that yet. We can though, right? We
Mm-hmm.
don't have we don't have a union like the NBA. We don't have big stadiums that we own. We can though. We can
Mm-hmm.
if we change our mentality and we change the way we think, change the way we eat, and change the way we treat each other. And
That's right.
that's what we got to do, y'all. So
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna end it. I think we could end it right there, bro. That was dope. And
yes,
yeah,
sir.
man. Yeah, like, and I just want to add, like I never got into the sneaker business actually to have just my own brand. That wasn't my idea. My goal is actually to make shoes for everybody else. To see the top b-boys have their own shoes. You know what I mean? There's only so much I can do right now, but when we get bigger, yeah, that's the whole plan, is to make everybody else have their own sneakers. The ones that really want it, and that's their dream. So yeah.
Exactly.
Word up.
Yeah.
I guess we could finish it right there. Are you good?
Yes, sir.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. And we'll
Hope you
see you
guys
on the
enjoyed
next
it.
one. All right.
Yes.
Peace.
Peace. Peace.